Oh, good morning, everybody. How we doing? Nobody here was out too late? No hangovers? Couple? Maybe? Good. Well, welcome to Sunday at FlightSimExpo 2024. One of the things that I've been wanting to do with this show for quite a long time is what we're about to do right now. People often call me and they ask, okay, like what kind of a computer should I get? Like what do I do? What kind of a flight sim PC is the right PC? And they're like, should I go and buy, a computer online that's from like a big manufacturer that's pre-made or whatever? And the recommendation is always no. You should go and get something from a local PC builder, tell them what you need, and the reason for that is then you can swap out parts. So in a couple years, when your graphics card is maybe getting a little behind the times, you can just pull out that graphics card, put in a new one, and you basically got yourself a new computer, as opposed to something that's already pre-manufactured where sometimes you can't do that. And then people go, well, how the heck do I do that, right? And I say, well, that's a good question. So this year, we reached out to a local PC company in Ohio, and we're like, guys, we're doing this show in Vegas, but what do you think about helping us out? They were actually here last year in Houston, and I guess they liked the show, right? So I said, look, what if we actually did this on the stage? We could get some cameras going, make it like a cooking show where you can actually, right in front of people, build a computer, teach them how to do it, and then at the end, turn it on and make sure that it works. And they think they can do it. So we'll see if they can. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Viral PC, many other things that they do. One of the things they do is custom PCs that they ship all around the country. And they are here helping us power the show. Their devices are across a number of exhibitor booths on the show floor. And they're here with you this morning to basically turn this into a functional computer. Good luck with that. I'll let you introduce everyone by name.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Austin. Have some fun.
Thank you. Yep. My mic's working. Okay, yeah, we're working. So I am Austin, owner of Viral. This is Brandon, and we have Tasha here. So Evan didn't tell you the secret sauce, though. So we're building this PC, but we're also giving it away today at our booth. So if you guys have seen us out there, we have the very flashy tent out there. So stop by. Check it out, but we'll be drawing names, I believe, at 12:30 today. Free to enter, just stop on over, fill the name out, and then, yeah. So we'll get on with the build. So what we got here today, this is a Leon Lee 011 Vision case. It looks pretty flashy because it's all glass, right? Very, very popular. Let's backtrack a little bit. How many of you, just a raise of hands, have built your own PC? Okay, so yeah, it's not rocket science, right? Adult Legos, right? So what we do here at Viral is we take that customer interaction. You guys can go ahead and start. We take that customer interaction, that one-on-one, just like Evan spoke. We have that conversation with you guys to say, hey, what type of PC do you need? What are you doing with the computer? We build flight sim PCs. We build racing simulator PCs, and we also build streaming PCs, consumer PCs, and B2B PCs. We are located in Dayton, Ohio. Our e-commerce has been up and running for roughly 4.5 years. We started in the basement, building computers as a hobby, and then slowly began to say, okay, hold on a second. We might have something going on here. So back in Dayton, Ohio, we have a whole esport facility where kids can come in, adults can come in and game on computers that we've built. It houses 40 custom gaming computers, showing you the chip there. 4 racing simulators and a flight sim. So what processor are we working with today, Brandon?
It's the 14600K.
14600K. So how many of you chase the new every year stuff? Okay, we got a couple. All right, hurt your wallet, right? 14 gen, for all of you, you might know, sorry if I'm repeating myself here, but 14 gen processor is the 2024 processor, right? It's like chasing that iPhone every year. If you just keep wanting to upgrade, and that's how they kind of suck you in. So 14.6 is middle of the road. It's a really, really great chipset. And we kind of based this PC build around specs of a flight sim. So one, we're not gonna just raffle off a PC that you get at home and you can't use it. So, and then we also have our own Viral branded fans that are gonna be in there. They're RGB. Who's fans of RGB? I have a lot less hands here. Oh, okay, all right, a little bit more, all right. More RGB, more frames, right? Is that right? right? I heard a yeah. Okay, I love that. A couple people read Reddit in here. But yeah, so we got our own viral branded fans you can control with an app or through the motherboard that we're putting in here. There's gonna be 6 in here, but we chose this case, Leon Lee. How many people have heard of Leon Lee? The kind of Ferrari of case manufacturers, right? So to say. They like the display, it's for the enthusiasts. They do a lot of PCMR stuff. This is their brand new Vision case that just released this year. We flew to Computex last year and seen this on display, and we really were really excited to get our hands on this, but we really think this is just a beautiful display piece to showcase on a sim, on your desk, all glass case, and we like to go overboard with fans. Definitely cools it down a lot more, so. Talk a little bit about the motherboard. What are you working with them?
So this is a Z790 from Gigabyte. It's the perfect chipset to pair with the 14th gen Intel. I just installed the NVMe SSD. I can show you right there. So a lot of people think this is very delicate, and people don't see people just tossing it around, but I mean it's a lot more resilient.
Just a.
So that's the NVMe SSD. So we have a thermal pad that is an interface material to transfer the heat to the aluminum heat sink that goes on it. We're just we like to install outside of the case. A lot of people do not install outside of the case. A lot of people put the motherboard in and then install everything. We just find it a lot easier to have access to the whole board, to get everything installed on the board first, and then we put it inside the case.
Yep, so there's a couple different ways that you can build, right? No, there's no wrong or right reason. Should you be building on carpet? Probably not. But in a sense, there's, like Brandon said here, you can build outside the case, you can build inside the case. It really just depends on how the case is. With this case, this is another cool feature that it has. It's super modular. So this guy can be changed. Hopefully these thumb screws aren't tightened too much. So this whole motherboard tray, this is another reason why we really love Leon Lee, is they take customer feedback. They take, let's just say they're well endeavored in Reddit, and they make fake accounts just to kind of see. They take customer feedback really seriously. So this motherboard tray can come out and literally just be placed right back in there. It can also be moved up and down to create that if you want a little bit more breathing room up here, or if you need a little bit extra room down there. Why would we probably need extra room? Well, have you guys seen a 4090 up close? It's big, right? It's as big as a PS5. So these case manufacturers have kind of had to dial it back a little bit because the 4090s are so big. And we did a test fit on our YouTube channel when 4090s came out about how many cases that we used to use do not fit a 4090 because they're either touching the glass or they just won't fit. I mean, it's kind of like subbing it in. So, as Brandon attested to earlier, you can take this out, and if you really wanted to, just sit this guy down, build on that, and then put it right back in. So another reason why we really, really like this case. So I'll leave this out for you. And then the AIO. We all know what an AIO is, right? Sort of, kind of. Yep, all-in-one cooler. So the AIO releases the water, cools the CPU down, goes to the channels, cools it down again, and then recycles itself. So this is probably the first thing that's going to go out in your computers. They're rated roughly 5 years. Some people might get a little bit more out of that, but usually these are the first things that are going to go out. We do a lot of custom liquid cooled builds too, and Brandon, that's his baby. He really, really enjoys doing that. And if you visit our website, it is viraltech.com, you can check out some of the builds that we've done in the past. If anybody stopped by the booth, have you seen the little PC, little guy we got over there? So that's an ITX build. It's very small. If you haven't been over there, I'd highly suggest stop by and see it. So we wanted to bring that to kind of showcase that you can pack a lot of power in just a small case. So a lot of the sim rigs I see out there, the flight sim rigs, depending on your house, you might have just limited space to have a PC, right? So we wanted to showcase that you can have, and that's a 4080 and a 14700K. So it's a little bit more powerful than this guy here. So packed in that little case. Excuse me. So really what it boils down to is the case is just personal preference. We don't recommend maybe sticking that little case underneath a flight sim because of heat. But everything's a case by case basis. So what are you doing there? Installing the bracket?
So this is the thermal paste. It comes pre-applied on this AIO. So a lot of people think and ask, why is my CPU overheating over so many years? This thermal paste needs replaced every, I would say, year. I'd just call it a year. You just take some alcohol, you take the cooler off, you take some alcohol, wipe it down. You put new thermal paste on, which you can get most local retailers of any computer supplies, and you just reapply it the way they instruct. Everybody has their method. Don't use peanut butter, don't use toothpaste.
Toothpaste will work,
not
right?
The same thing.
No?
Some of it will,
man,
like the charcoal maybe, but.
How many people have seen those funny videos that they post? They just try to put whatever on the on the CPU and try to make it work. Those are funny. But yeah, do not use toothpaste. I can see it now. Viral told us to use toothpaste on our build. So yeah, that's the number one thing. Back at home, we have like I said, an eSport compound, but we do PC repair, PC builds. We do this live on Twitch. We get a lot of customers that come in and say, hey, you know, like Brandon said, my PC's overheating. Well, that's the number one question that we ask right away is when have you changed the thermal paste? Or it may be a CPU fan or maybe an AIO going out just because they had it for 6 years. So that was great. So he's gonna install it on the outside, and this is something that I do differently. Brandon does it differently. Nothing's the right or wrong way. I would usually put that on there and install it, but Brandon has built a lot more PCs than me lately, so he finds it easier to do it that way. And then Tasha over here is installing the fans. Each individual RGB fan has 2 wires, which then go to one wire, sorry, which then go to a USB hub, RGB hub, which is this guy here. So this can get very nerve-wracking because if you have, how many fans are we doing today?
9.
9 fans, but yeah. So cable management, we'll really highlight that. We've really honed down on cable management. We pride ourselves on cable management. And the way we build PCs is we build them to say if something would go wrong or something messes up down the road, we know exactly how we build it. We know right where the wires are. Once we have that one-on-one call, if a fan came loose during shipping, because we've had some shipping nightmares. We've all had that. We can go back and say, hey, this is it, instead of just chasing. So we find it that when you do cable management as you go, it's a lot easier versus at the end. And some people might say, well, I just put it all together, you're really excited, and then you run all the cables, and then you got to kind of backtrack a little bit. So
when applying the thermal paste after that, when you actually go to install it, you're going to want to apply even pressure to make sure the thermal paste is distributed properly.
yeah, we always cross thread. So you always do corner to corner, because you don't want to have the AIO kind of sitting a little lopsided. That will cause a lot of issues.
Just like installing a car tire, basically.
Yep. Yeah, so nowadays with the new gen AMD and the new gen Intel chipsets, we get a lot of questions too about heat, and we get a lot of questions about temperature. So Brandon can allude that they run a lot hotter, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The new gen, it's hot. 300 watts in the size of probably like a $50 piece. So 300 watts in that little tiny chip it's hard to even cool nowadays, even with AIOs. It's pretty insane. But that's like the top end chip.
So could this build hypothetically be ran and built with a CPU fan cooler? We all know what those are, right? The big block that attaches to the CPU fan cooler. Yes and no. Like some of the CPUs come with a cooler if you buy them from a Micro Center or Best Buy. It's kind of going away a little bit, but they still do. We probably wouldn't recommend that. If you're on a budget, definitely utilize that. But that's the first thing that's going to go out. I mean, especially if you guys are building PCs for a flight sim, I would highly attest not to do that. It's just going to be too much for the PC and overheat. So an AIO, an all-in-one cooler, that's a 360 millimeter, and all that is just 3 120 millimeter fans. You could get away with a 240 or a 280, which would be a 2-fan system. So any AIO would work in this situation perform better than a CPU cooler.
So I'm installing the system memory right now. This is basically the highway of all your information. So a lot of people, when they get their system, it's possible that it came out of place. A lot of people are afraid to do this. I've seen so many shaky hands doing this, but
you don't have shaky hands this morning? A little bit.
A little caffeine, you know. But so you really have to press down, and I meant like, you have to hear that click. It's very important to hear that click when you install system memory, because if you don't, you probably didn't do it right. Sometimes it's quiet, but you just have to make sure you're putting weight on it. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, so when we ship PCs, especially worldwide, that's the first thing that we check when a customer calls us and says, hey, I'm not getting any VGA, or I'm not getting this, that is the RAM sticks, because everything can come jarbled when these FedEx and UPS guys, sorry if you're in here, just kick around the boxes a little bit. But we make sure that we pack it very, very well. So running you're going to insert now of the motherboard?
Yeah, okay, I think we're ready to go and put it in the case.
Just a pause for a little bit, probably a couple minutes while he gets this ready. Do we have any just quick questions? I'll take like 1 or 2 questions of just what we've done so far. You can step up to the microphone if you'd like.
I don't understand the paste. The paste actually adheres, right?
Yes, sir.
So how do you replace that for 4 years if it's adhered?
It's not adhesive.
It's not adhesive. It's just like, think of it toothpaste. We joked around about the toothpaste, but it's almost identical. So if you put toothpaste on the toothbrush, right, and then the water wipes it off. We don't want water on the PCs, but you would just take an alcohol spray and wipe it off of the PC, or off the AIO. And then it's going to be on the CPU as well, which then alcohol on the rag, never onto the products, and then wipe it out. So we recommend that about every year and a half, just because that can dry out very well, especially if you didn't put even pressure on that AIO to the CPU. So great question. I can't hear you, I'm sorry. I wouldn't recommend, I mean, you could, but you really just want to apply even cross-threading to that AIO. And then I wouldn't recommend, you could use a torque wrench, but just be very careful. Pressure, yeah. Yeah, just be careful, no drills. Yeah.
Everything's hand tight.
Hand tight, yeah. Yes, sir.
What evidence do you have that it's starting to dry out and you need to do that? Is there a thermometer somewhere?
Yes, great question. Yes, what evidence do we have that it's starting to dry out? That is a phenomenal question. So you would see your temperatures kind of rise a little bit. So let's say brand new PC, you're getting it running, and it runs right around that 80, 87 degrees Celsius. Excuse me, it's measured in Celsius. And then, after a year, you're starting to notice that it's starting to get up in the hundreds or the 90s. That would be a telltale sign that probably needs replaced.
Where do you see that temperature?
So great question. Where do you see the temperature? So there's temperature monitors, certain programs that you can use. As soon as you boot in, you're into the motherboard BIOS. You can see that in there as well. But they've really made it easy for third-party apps. A great one to use is NZXT Cam, and it literally monitors your whole system, your CPU, GPU, even your CPU load, GPU load. All those temperatures are displayed on any monitor that you want to be.
Can you repeat that product, please?
NZXT Cam. Yep. Yeah, it's a great free tool. NZXT makes products like AIOs, fans, cases, PSUs, so they're well endeavored into the PC environment. But just because you don't have one of their products, you can install that free software, and it will definitely monitor your stuff. Yep. Yes, sir.
So what's your recommendation or opinion when it comes to graphene strips over
So I can probably answer that. I rebuild my computer way too often. So thermal paste is the way I go. Graphene strips, they offer great performance, but it's just, it doesn't offer as good of performance. So I usually go with the best thermal interface I could possibly go with. Sometimes I do direct dyes, so I use actual liquid metal, but liquid metal, don't let them talk you into it. It's not for the beginner. It's not fun.
Any other questions? Yes?
As you go into simple this, we talked about airflow, direction of airflow.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, that's he asked it when we talk about airflow and how we do the fans directional. So yeah, we have obviously 9 fans that are going to go in here. So the push-pull system definitely
Well, you said not.
is worthy. So the tedious of the small screws, we're applying those now.
Okay.
So good.
Yep. So we're actually doing 8 fans in this. We're gonna have the airflow coming up. It's gonna draw fresh air in the bottom, and it's gonna exhaust the hot air out the back. And, well, there's so many backs in this case. So this is the big back, this is the little back. It's gonna have 2 fans over on this side, and 3 fans on this side, and 3 at the bottom. But it's gonna be intake at the bottom, and then I say hot air rises. She doesn't believe me, but yeah, so it doesn't make a huge difference. As long as I like to try to keep it at even pressure. So this is gonna be a negative pressure situation. So we're gonna have more fans exhausting.
A lot of people don't talk about is where your PC is going. You know, I can have mine in a little 5x5 room versus Brandon has his in a 15x15. So he's going to get a lot more air flow through there. So, and they've even went as far as we just built in a cool custom case from Bulgaria. We met with the engineer. It's open air to where it doesn't have any. It's all open. I don't know if you guys have seen those, but they're really cool. We got a couple pictures of the one we built at the booth. Stop by and I can show you that too. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about that? Because I've seen discussions online back and forth about airflow being good and more fans and all that, but putting the side back on the case as opposed to just leaving it open. You know, being more exposed for heat to escape, but then people say, well, it's not optimizing the fan flow and all that.
So my take on that is gonna be, the best way to put it is, unless you want to dust your computer out every week, I'd recommend keeping the case on but once again, if you're having thermal issues, then there's something else causing it. So maybe your cooling isn't sufficient, as in your heat sink. Like a dry thermal paste, after a while it can cause that as well. So having the case panels on with all the fans doing a proper airflow is recommended.
Yeah, probably not ideal for small children or cat owners to keep that open. Just a little thing in there. But the open air chassis, going alongside what you just said, open air cases too are very beautiful design cases. But yeah, once again, ideal. It's all open, so you can just, get a little finger caught in the fan there. So, I had a question over here. Yep.
My desk has a compartment for the PC tower.
Yep.
How much spacing is sufficient, or is that just a bad idea in general?
wouldn't put your PC in an enclosed area because all that, I should say, hot and cold air is just gonna keep cycling at, and it's just gonna really overheat itself. My recommendation would be, oh, it does, front and back open. Okay, still, if it's got sides covered up, it's still gonna breathe a lot of air in there. I would recommend to keep it on the desk just because you're gonna get a lot more radius of just open air circulating out. Just the less, what should I say, the less room for air would be ideal. Yeah, great question. So Brandon's installing the case here, the motherboard tray. Are we going with a down or an open? Are you gonna run it all the way down?
I'm going to have at the bottom,
Yep.
yeah.
And then what we like to do is we like to install the AIO, and we like to put the AIO behind. I'll show you a little bit of this. It might be foreign language to some, but we like to run the AIO a certain way on the tray, so that way it looks a little bit better. Not gonna affect any thermals, not gonna affect any temperature-wise.
We have online people that were hoping that you could repeat the question. So
Yes.
when people are asking them.
Yeah, where can I see the online question?
There is no online question.
Oh,
They just can't
okay.
hear the audience, so they want
Yes.
to make sure so they get an idea of what's
Yeah.
going on.
Oh, repeat the question or ask me a question. What was that?
Repeat the question when the audience asks it. They can't hear them, so.
Oh, okay. So the question that the gentleman asked, he asked about the, he has a desk that's, has a built-in spot for a PC. And he asked if it would be ideal to put the PC in there. It has a front and back open, right? I would recommend not to do that. Can it work? Absolutely. Just depends on one, the case, and two, more or less room for air if you just set it on the actual desk. So, I mean, obviously with your guys' flight sim rigs, if you have a PC there, you probably have a spot for it. You probably have somewhere that it sits, whether that's on carpet. I would recommend maybe getting like a small box that's, at least 6 to 12 inches tall and setting it up there on it. Just once again, to create that little circulation of air. Installing the AIO?
Yeah, we're about to put it in the case now. Actually bolt it to the case.
So it's starting to come together, as you guys can see it. Who's a fan of white PCs, the all white builds? They've came around since COVID started breathing that in a little bit. Nothing wrong with the all black box, but a little fun story. How viral started is we started to, I was an alcohol salesman. We all love alcohol sometimes, right? Yes. I hope you're all not hungover. I didn't drink last night because I didn't know how to do this, but after, I'll drink with you guys. But I was an alcohol salesman, lost my job during COVID. Very blessed to say that I've never been in that situation. So we started building computers. I started building computers with my cousin in my basement as a hobby. And then I put it on social media. I have two daughters, 17 and 18. They were 14 and 15 at the time. And they're like, Dad, I have TikTok. I'm like, no, I don't want you to have that. So I, in turn, got my own TikTok just to watch what they're doing, right? Any parent can attest, right?
That's good.
If you're gonna have it, I gotta have it, and I'm gonna see what you're doing. So they're like, Dad, you should really put your area, because I have a pretty nice, I would call it nice, setup at home, 3 screens, nice computer. You should put your area on, your game room on TikTok. And I'm like, nah, that's all right. So I may have been drinking this night, but I put it on and I just went to bed. I put it on there, a little video, I made a little video. I thought it was cool. I look back, I'm like, why did I do that? It got like 3.2 million views in a week. And all it was is I took a couple PC parts, I wrapped them white with vinyl, and I put it on the internet, and they went absolutely insane. So this is in the era of where these manufacturers were like, they're creating these PC parts, but they're like, I couldn't understand why not make them with color? Why not be pink, purple? We all might drive the same car, but it might be different colors. Why aren't we breathing that ecosystem into the PC world, right? I guarantee all your flight sims look maybe the same, but different, right? You put your own little taste, your own little twist on it. Same in the car concept. So Then it spawned a lot of orders, and I didn't know what to do with those. So fast forward, we started a company, and we started building, and I had, at one point in time, I like to tell this story now, but I didn't tell it back then. I had more PC parts in my garage than my house was worth. So I had to pull out like a $2 million policy on my garage. It was pretty, my insurance guy's like, what are you doing in there? Like, what's going on? I'm like, just, it's legal, okay? I'm doing legal stuff. So, yeah, my other half said, hey, like, you gotta do something. So then we started looking for places, but fast forward, we wanted to, I met a couple buddies playing Halo, bringing the Xboxes over, you know, the true LAN party, right? We had the idea, if we're gonna build PCs, we want to build PCs, but we also wanna have people play on the PCs we built. So that's where the concept was born of having an esport facility in Dayton, Ohio, which houses our build room, which houses the 45 custom gaming computers, flight sim, and 4 racing simulators. So, and we have beer pong on Friday nights. So we get a little mix of fun things. So it's really fun. But I like to share that story a little bit, just how the company started. But you know, back to you know, obviously customization of PCs. What we really specialize in, you know, the question I asked earlier is how many of you built your PCs? And there's a lot of people that raise their hands. It's not rocket science, right? What we do to separate ourselves from the big guys or even any other company is we have that one-on-one interaction with the customer. We all know that you can go to Best Buy. We all know you can go to Micro Centers and just buy your PC, and you can kind of gauge it, say, hey, this will work, right? We offer a lifetime warranty, and then obviously a warranty on parts and labor as well. All labor, if you buy a PC from us, a year later, 2 years later, something happens, we try to diagnose it and get it situated over the phone. If not, if it need be, you need to send it in. You send it in to us, and we do all the labor and stuff for free.
We had an online question from Art.
Okay.
I wanted to know, how do you manage the noise factor with 9 fans in the case?
Great question. So with the 9 fans, that would be, I'll answer that in 2 parts. So with 9 fans, it's actually silent depending on the fans you get. So some stock fans don't have a higher rating, RPM rating, and they also aren't ball bearings. Might be a little bit different,
Fluid
right?
bearings,
Yeah,
yeah.
fluid bearings, yeah. So Leon Lee makes great fans. We have our own fans. They're budget-friendly fans. You can get a whole pack of them for $150. There's cases. There's fans that have just came out that have LCDs inside the middles. Have you guys seen those yet? They're really cool. So they have Leon Lee made brand new fans that have LCDs in the middle. So part of the question is it's going to be silent. All depends on the fan that you go with. And then obviously, if you want it to light up, if you want the LCDs, if you want to jazz it up a little bit, have infinity mirrors, that's when you start getting into the, okay, it's a little bit more pricey. So hypothetically, we can have this exact same build, and we can cut down $150 if we just put non-RGB fans in. Where I'm going with that is there's so many different ways to build a PC, and there's so many right ways and there's so many wrong ways. The wrong ways would be, you know, not putting enough fans or not changing the fans when the fans die, because we get that a lot too. My PC's overheating, and then we do a test on it, and 3 of the fans aren't working. It only has 1 fan trying to really cool that whole system. So we're a firm believer in, obviously, the more fans, it's only hypothetical, but the more fans that you have in there, the more cooling and the mix is going to be flowed through that. So great question.
And another online question.
Yep.
They say, besides changing the thermal paste yearly, what do you recommend for general maintenance tips for a computer?
Dusting out every 6 months at max. I would probably say every month or 2 myself, but everybody has a different opinion. But definitely dusting out. And also your graphics card also has thermal paste. So that's also recommended being changed out, but I'd definitely recommend like a technician to do that.
That's a little bit more advanced. The thermal paste on the GPU is a little bit more advanced for, I would say, even me a year ago. Brandon's very used to it because he does custom liquid cooling. We have to take the PCB off of the GPU and just install a water block on it. So I would highly recommend dusting your PC out every 30 days. And I'll give you guys a little trick. We all know canned air, right? It's very expensive. There is a thing on Amazon, and if you come by the booth, I can share the link, that is it's just like a hand blower, right? It's $45. We use it, I clean my whole house with it. I just put an extension cord and I'm just dusting it all. My girlfriend's like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is so much easier. But it's one time $45 and it lasts, we've had ours for 2 years, 2.5 years. So that'll save you a lot of time. I mean, even as you're on your flight sim stuff, it gets dusty, right? Dusting that off is super simple, and canned air, just don't buy that. Save you the hassle. So yeah, regular maintenance is definitely up. I mean, obviously we can sell you the computer, I can sell you the car, you can buy the car, but it's up to you to put gas and oil in it, right? Those are just maintenance stuff that's normal. You know, doing your PC updates, doing your Windows updates. Yes, we all hate Windows 11, right? But do the updates. It's gonna really, in turn, hone down on what's going on with your PC. So if you're having driver issues, your GPU, I'm sure you guys have all ran into the issue where you start the game or you try to do this and you got a graphics card update. You know, do those regularly. I just make it a task anytime that I see that little thing. I research it a little bit, but I hit update and go about my day. So all those will compile and in turn hone down on if anything is actually happening. Has anybody got a blue screen of death on your PC? Where the PC just shuts off and it's a blue screen that says, sorry? Nobody's got that? Good, that's good. So yeah, that can happen too. That's a driver, I mean, multiple reasons why that can happen, but if you're doing your updates, if you're dusting out your PC, we've seen some very horrid PCs that come in that haven't been dusted, and it's caked on. That can be a defining factor of the PC turning off, not running properly. All those things are great to do. AO giving you some trouble?
No, it's okay.
He didn't
Yeah.
pronounce it right.
Apollo asks online, could you recommend a memory speed or price tag for a sim PC? Thank you, from Azores.
What was the last part of that?
The question was, could you please recommend a memory speed to price for a sim PC? Like, is there a good budget option that's also quick for memory?
For memory. Well, you want to answer that, Brandon, maybe? Memory speed that's budget friendly for a flight sim?
I'd say so. Probably
Loaded question.
6,000 speed.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of memory. So there's DDR4 and DDR5. I'd say the best thing to get is 6,000 speed DDR5. I'm a 3600 speed if DDR4. There's a latency on all memory, which is it's a wide number.
Yeah, that's a loaded question because we still have DDR4. You guys familiar with DDR4, DDR5? Do you guys know what that is? Okay, so we have DDR4, DDR5. Just because you have DDR4 doesn't mean, oh my gosh, my PC's not gonna work, it's not gonna work right. It's just me owning a 2020 car, right? Yes?
Isn't it kind of dependent on the motherboard too?
It is, yes, you're right, sir. Correct. Huh? So he said, is it based on the motherboard? The question that came online was, the gentleman asked what would be the best budget-friendly RAM speed, which it's a great question, but it's kind of a loaded question because you could build hypothetically a budget-friendly DDR4 that's maxed out 64 gigs and still be in your budget, but you could also turn around and go to new-gen DDR5. And this gentleman attested that it also depends on your motherboard. So yes, you can't mix DDR4, DDR5. There's also another thing too. You guys familiar with XMP? You know what XMP is? So it's just overclocking your RAM. Because when it comes in from the factory, if you have 6,000 millihertz RAM, what is it clock?
Megahertz.
Megahertz.
So it's 6,000 megahertz RAM, but there's different CAS latencies, which it really, there's a formula to tell how fast it is though. So it could be a slower megahertz, but have a lower CAS latency and still be faster. So the fastest RAM is the best for Microsoft Flight Sim specifically.
Yeah, with the sim stuff, it really is you really just want to, I love to use this analogy, and sorry I keep bringing up cars, but your CPU and your GPU is kind of like your engine and your transmission, right? That's gonna be the bulk dollar amount of your cost of your PC. Once again, you can get away with having 6 fans, 3 fans that aren't RGB that might cost you $10 each. But that's where I would really, if I'm building a PC nowadays and it's my first time building a PC and I don't know, where to look, where to turn, you want to invest your budget. If your budget's $2,000, you want to invest the majority of that budget inside of those 2 parts, because those are going to carry the longevity of your build. You don't want to be replacing the CPU and GPU unless you just don't care about money and you want to do that every year, which is totally fine. But it's, once again, back to the theory of chasing the iPhone upgrades. You're going to be just changing. So great questions. Anybody else got a question? Yes, sir.
I7 versus I9 versus I5. What's the bottom line on that for flight sims?
Brandon loves these questions. Gentleman asks I5 versus I7 versus I9. What are the differences?
Okay, so i5 is basically like the standard, I'm gonna go game CPU. I'm probably not gonna do anything extra per se. It still works on everything because everything's so powerful now. So basically the i7 would be like, okay, I'm gonna go game and probably stream and probably have quite a few tabs open on my browser. And then you get to the i9, which is I'm gonna do a bunch of things. I'm gonna stream, I'm gonna video edit, I need as many cores as possible to get the video workloads done and streaming. And you could probably be doing multiple things now because hardware is so powerful now.
We found out with the flight sim stuff, it's more CPU heavy than it is GPU heavy. Your GPU definitely matters. i5 14600s in this build now. That's the one that we kind of start out building for flight sim stuff. i7, i9, they're gonna work. The question that I would ask you in return would be how much do you want to future-proof this build? Because you could say, hey Austin, I want to build a PC, but I don't want to touch it for 5 years. Versus another gentleman say, hey, I want to build this PC, but I'm going to replace it in a year or 2. So that matters too. That's why at Viral, what we do is when you call us and you order a PC or you have questions, you're talking to one of us 3. You're not talking to an 800 number, and I don't even mean to say it in the wrong way, but we really we don't let you overbuy or underbuy. If you say, hey, give me the best of the best, I'm going to ask you, what are you playing? Why do you need it? Mm-hmm.
Of course, the best one is probably the most expensive, top of the line, but the difference between some that are much less expensive to the other one, it can be very small improvement. What, in 2024, do you have any comments on the GPU?
Yes, great question. Gentleman asked, do we have any comments on the GPU market in 2024? There can be a lot of different ups and downs and very minimal upgrades. So great question. So you're gonna hate me for this, but we're about to get into 50 series cards. The rumor, speculation here probably at the end of the year. So once again, saying it again, I'm gonna repeat myself, chasing the upgrades of technology every year. I got a chance to go out and talk with a lot of exhibitors out there and ask them personally, what are you guys running? There's a mix. No 20 series cards, I don't think. A lot of 30 series cards and some 40 series cards. So all of them work. It's back to you on a budget. How much do you want to future-proof this? We can build you a machine that is running a 30 series card that's going to last you 2 to 3 years. We all know, I think, that Microsoft Flight Sim's about to change some stuff, right? They say that you're going to be safe and it's going to run, but we'll see. But yeah, I think they all work hand in hand. They're like, okay, we're going to do this upgrade and then sell more 50 series cards. But it's based on budget. We could build you a 30 series card with a 14500 14 series chip, or even AMD, and it gets you by. But like Brandon attests to, it's what do you really want to do with the PC? Is it just flight sim stuff, or is it utilized to be, gaming at night? Is it utilized to be a workload? So those are the questions that we like to ask our customers when they're buying from us. So I answered it, but I answered it in a long term. So there's very minimal upgrades from 4070, 4070 Ti, 4080, 4080 Ti, 4090. 4090 is your top dog, right? Should you buy it? You can. If you can afford it, great. You're going to future-proof your system for 5 years. Yeah, so. And it also depends on, too, and this is a question that it gets asked, but it also factors into what type of monitor are you using, right? So 4 monitors, highly recommend. I would change that from not a 30 series card to maybe at least a 4080 for you. Because it's going to be able to power those 4 monitors. And then we can go even further and say, is it 4K, 2K, what's the refresh rates? And then we just keep going, right? So, yeah. Yes, sir. I'm getting to you. I seen you, sorry.
What about custom laptop builds? Do you do those as well?
Unfortunately, we do not, yes. We just, we deal heavily in PC builds. We do roughly 80 to 100 a month, ship them worldwide. We haven't really got into any PC laptop stuff, unfortunately. We can give recommendations on probably what we'd recommend, but yeah, I see that there is a lot of laptops out there. I was highly impressed. So they can do a workload. So just be mindful that they have to be plugged in and they do utilize, but that is a great scenario if you're a traveler and you want to take something to run a sim or to game or whatever it may be, and then have it stationary at home. Yes, sir.
So going back to processors, 2024, Flight Sim 2024 is supposed to make use of multi-threading. How many cores onboard cache would you recommend for a processor?
So I'd probably recommend 8 cores. Sorry, so the comment on the CPUs and how much cores and cache you'd recommend in 2024, most games are not using as many cores as everybody thinks they are. So that's what the i5 and i7 and i9 have difference. So if you want to do like a flight sim, it's extremely CPU intensive. So the more cores is still better, but also it's not utilizing all the cores in most games now. It's probably using up to 4 cores, maybe up to 8. It just depends on how much the game's actually utilizing the cores. So an i9, and i7 can perform exactly the same in the game, which is the thing that people don't exactly understand is, I have the i9, it's going to get better FPS in flight sim, but in reality, it's the clock speed of the cores it's the workload that core can handle. So I think the best thing for gaming is an i7 personally. An i5 is extremely as good as the i7. It's just like when you get to like games that require more cores, you're going to want to look at an i7 or an i9. The i9 is more for, say, video editing, workstation, AI, anything that needs a lot of cores thrown at it.
How many of you overclocked your PCs before? Was it scary? No? Yeah. It's fun. Brandon loves that. I mean, he goes home and just overclocks, makes dinner, overclocks. So he loves tinkering and stuff. So I'm always turning to him. So a lot of people don't talk about this too, is like when you add bloatware, I'm not talking bloatware like whatever, but how many people just, you're in the mix and you might use your PC for flight sim, but you might use it for personal stuff. You might game on it, but how many of that stuff that we forget we download? I know we've all done it on our phones. We've downloaded an app and forgot about it and it's still on there. Well, that's using memory. That's also using space. It's also using, we can go on and on and on. So that plays a big factor in stuff too. And I'm not saying, run your computer clean, right? Just have Microsoft Flight Sim on there or whatever you used, right? But the cleaner you keep it, then the cleaner it will perform, right? So I always roll back that. It's like, when's the last time you actually utilize everything you're using on your PC and shut some of that stuff down to really keep it more optimized too? So, yes, sir.
Any recommendation on AMD processors?
For flight sim, I would highly recommend the X3D chips. They've performed very, very well. Yeah, all of our builds, we have 10 builds We have 10 builds out there that we rented to exhibitors that we built, and I think 7 out of the 10 are AMD chipsets, and these are all requested from them. So, yeah, let's not forget about AMD. We've been talking a lot about Intel, but that's a Chevy Ford conversation. I mean, you got loyal AMDs, you got loyal Intels, and they just chase each other every year. So, yeah, for GPUs, I'd highly recommend NVIDIA for sure. Yeah, yes, sir.
I get pop-ups on driver updates.
Yep.
Of course, they want money to do it.
Yeah.
Should I just ignore it?
Ignore, yeah, don't ever pay money to do that. Yeah, there's different ways. You stop by the booth, we can give you kind of some pointers on how to get all that kind of out of the way and then running good for you. Yep, great question.
What was the question?
Question was, he gets pop-ups all the time about updating drivers. They want him to pay money to update the drivers. There's a free, easy way to do that. Don't fall for that stuff. Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, and an online question. What is the importance
I'll get
of
you.
single core performance versus, you talk a lot about multi-core performance, but how important is single core performance on a central processing unit?
So I'm a single core performance would definitely differ. So the clock speed of the cores greatly varies when it comes to single core versus multi-threaded performance. So multi-threaded performance, the clock speed will be lower. And then single core performance, the clock speed will be much greater. So you'll have a lot more performance out of the single core when it's used just one at a time versus multi-core, because when you have all the processing units actually going, they're using the frequency of that goes down, but there's more of them to carry the workload. The importance is really just the single core is mainly utilized in most games, but there's the multi-threaded. It uses basically up to four cores max usually in games. I mean, it doesn't usually use more than that, but there is games starting to utilize more cores, so that's starting to utilize all the processor now. So an i5 could generally be good for most games, but if you want to do multiple things at once, so you're not wanting to just run your game, you're wanting to run like the software for your controllers and stuff, it's going to be using more cores. That's basically what the difference is between single core and multi-threaded.
Sir? You got, okay, cool, yep. Yes, sir? 850, great question. So what we do at Viral is we future-proof our builds. What that means to you as a customer, can you go buy a CyberPower, like Evan talked about earlier? We can all do that. We can all buy something that's just strictly off the shelf, ready to go. When it comes to upgrading your parts down the road, though, what we do, and we get sometimes we get flack for this, we future-proof the builds. We put higher wattage power supplies in there. The motherboards we're building on have 4 RAM slots. So if you wanted to add RAM down the road, you can do that as well. What happens of those out-of-box experiences, once again, they're okay. But when you go to upgrade those, hey, I'm changing my GPU out. Well, what power supply you have? A 450. Well, that's not going to work. It becomes a domino effect of upgrades, right? We get flack for it. It's just because some people are like, well, you're selling computers. Don't you want returning customers? We would rather be that brand that gives you what you pay for, and then in turn, if you want to upgrade down the road, we in hopes that you call us, right? Because we don't like that. We've seen a very huge gap in the market with these PCs that are coming into us and getting fixed, and they want, we're the bad guy because we're just trying to sell them something. But in a sense, what they want, the upgrades that they want and need, more RAM, higher GPU, can't run off the power supply they have. So great question. That definitely, I'll touch a little bit more on that, but power supplies definitely come into play, and they're often just like the last part to pick out. They're like, yeah, whatever, just throw that on there. You're gonna see a lot more 1,000-watt PSUs. 850s is probably the starting range. 650s, all that stuff's still gonna exist, but as the 50 series cards come out, I mean, 40 series 4090 GPU runs max 600 watts, Brandon?
Yeah, so the 4090 is 600 watts, some 4080s around like 450.
Think of that. I mean, that's just your GPU, right? So like, take that in consideration. And we don't expect a lot of people to know that, but that's information that we release to you guys saying, hey, you know, the specs you picked out are gonna work, but we would highly recommend going with a bigger power supply. And on our website, we have pre-made, fabricated builds that are already ready. You have 3 flight sims that are on there, you have a couple racing sims, or you can go in and literally just build your own computer and kind of play around with it and test it out, or call us. We're open 7 days a week. All of us are there Monday through Friday till about 5 p.m. Eastern time. But you can call us, leave us a message. I have some cards left. I really didn't bring a lot, but I have some cards left. You guys can take a picture of it and email me with any questions you got. Don't feel like you have to buy a computer off us if you got some questions. We'd love to help you guys out. So, yes, we do ship internationally. Yep. Right now we're running a promo, a free domestic shipping. Don't hate me. Inside right now. But yeah, we'll also touch a little bit on that. We don't make money off shipping. We're not the company to say, hey, you bought a PC off us, it's $300 to ship, and in turn it's $60. Shipping to us. We're not in the market to make money off shipping. We sell PCs. So.
Can you recommend any websites or blogs to keep updated on the latest technology regarding PCs and gaming PCs in particular?
Yes, so the question is, can you recommend any blogs or websites to keep up to date on gaming technology? There's a couple that I might recommend that I frequent fly. The Verge is one, it's a really good one. I'm well endeavored in some Reddit posts, but you can check out our website. We update it frequently. We don't have any blogs, but we do release a lot of information on there. We do make educational videos too. We have a TikTok, we have a YouTube, we have an Instagram, we have a Twitter. So we're well into the social media ecosystem. So I think I had one close up front here. Yes, sir?
For shipping or moving computers, do you recommend keeping the graphics card installed or delivered?
Great question. Gentleman asked, when you're shipping or moving computers, do you recommend keeping the GPU installed? Nowadays, I would say absolutely not. Take it out. Excuse me. So of the 10 PCs we shipped here for exhibitors to use, all the graphics cards were out of the PCs. Less room for error, right? Because it is clipped in. You think about that, it's very thin. It's very thin, right? So that the piece goes in right there, the teeth connect to the motherboard, and it gets clipped in. But think about in shipping, no matter how much you pack on the bottom or the top, if it gets dropped in the exact same right spot, that'll hinge itself and break. So we'd always recommend kind of inserting it out and then shipping it that way. Now, if you're moving from house to house or whatever like that, you should be fine. And it's okay to turn the PC actually on its back. That's okay. We have normally, it's done?
It's done. I just wanted to show
Man, we got 3 minutes to spare. But it has to turn on. Don't clap yet. Hold on. Don't give them that much, guys. Hold on. It's got to turn on. Right? We built a car, but it's got to start. But yeah, this is normally mounted. You can vertically mount a graphics card. Have you ever seen that? So this right here would be turned, this whole thing would be turned up, so the fans would be facing us now. And we get a question a lot of times, is their performance better that way? It's just aesthetically pleasing. Oh, there it is. Nice. So it's colorful, it's jazzed up, it's nice, and then we'll kind of do its cycle fans here. So all the fans can be controlled, like I said, with a motherboard or even like a little remote control as well. So, all right, 2 minutes to spare. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You just talked about taking the GPU and mounting it.
Vertical, yep. So there's a special bracket that gets made. So So hypothetically, this is the GPU. It would go up and sit like this, but the bracket would have to be, we don't have one here, I do apologize, but it would sit like this. If you come to the booth, I have plenty of pictures. I would say 9 out of 10 times we vertical mount GPUs. Wouldn't you say, Brandon?
Yeah, definitely. The fan
Nothing wrong with this, but these graphics cards nowadays, if they're even white, because people chase that all white look or that all black look. Great question. How do you connect it if it's 90 degrees off of the motherboard, he asked. There's an extension cable. Does not impact anything, despite what you read on Reddit. Does not impact any performance. They've done testing on testing on testing of the GPU. Matter of fact, we think it's a little bit better for thermals, but we will not go into that. Yes, sir.
So it seems to me right now, talking about thermals, that your GPU fans are blowing down and your case fans are blowing up. Is that not ineffective?
So the fans are actually they're actually blowing upwards. So the fans pulling, you're getting straight fresh air coming up, going through the graphics card heatsink, so it's going upwards, and then it gets pushed out the front of it, and then which it gets exhausted to the back and the other back, so it goes out both ways. So all the hot.
Doesn't the GPU have fans?
Yes, but they don't run all the time. They only run when they need to be. So when they do run, it's still sticking that cold air and just shooting it straight up.
But your GPU is still blocking that airflow. The air is coming in from underneath the case and the GPU is blocking that.
It's not blocking it because it actually has holes in the top. You'll see when you come over, so it all goes through it. Great question though. Yep. Yes, sir. Gentleman asked, do we recommend a high refresh rate monitor versus, a TV, what a lot of people use nowadays? Loaded question. I would say, are you utilizing the PC for flight sim and gaming? Because you can get both. And I believe that a lot of companies, ASUS has stepped into the realm of making 42 to 45 inch gaming monitors. I would personally recommend that if it fits inside your budget, because that is going to be 2 birds, 1 stone. Like, you're going to get the TV aspect, but you're also going to get that high refresh rate. I believe they start at 165 refresh rate, all the way up to 240. So great question. I would just say personal preference. Yeah, if you're gaming, always monitor. We always tell our customers, we can sell you the PC. We don't sell monitors, it's just too of a competitive scene for us, but oh, the peel. Oh, he did the peel. People like the peel, man. We should have slowed that down. We got 50 seconds left, but. See? Want to leave it for the end customer. All right, no, we'll leave the front one.
Yeah, I'll leave the front one, definitely.
Before we end, we had a question online. What are the full system specs that you just put together today? So if they wanted to recreate exactly what you built, what would they need to get?
Perfect. So what we built is a
14600K
Yep.
i5 with our RTX 3080 Ti, which has plenty of video memory. We could, the pricing is quite a bit different from like 30 series and 40 series, so we wanted to optimize the price for this build to have the most video memory possible. Instead of getting, say, like a 4070, I think a 3080 Ti is still outperforming that. So that, we have 32 gigs of DDR5 RGB, 360 millimeter deep cool AIO, Z790 gigabyte Aorus motherboard, and a 1 terabyte Gen 4 NVMe, which is gonna have the fastest speeds. There's Gen 5 out, but that will also steal lanes from your CPU.
And this build will be on our website later today as well, so they can actually go to viraltech.com, VYRALTEQ.com. Brandon's head's in the middle of it, you can't see it, but there you go. So you can check that out on there. Yes, sir.
On pricing, what's the lowest and the highest price computer you've ever sold, and do you take in trade-ins?
Lowest and highest PC we ever sold, and do we take in trade-ins? I would say if you are local to Dayton, Ohio, we would consider it, but shipping it in, we don't really have a market for that stuff. Lowest PC we built, I think, is around 1600. Highest PC we built, they just finished a video rendering
AI
24090s,
PC.
24090s?
Yeah, 24090s.
$12,000.
$12,000.
Yeah.
So
Yep, we just got back from, we just built 5 computers for T-Pain. He's a rap artist, Atlanta, Georgia. We did an install at his house about 3 weeks ago, so it was really fun. So we're very blessed to have some really high profile celebrity builds, which is really fun too. So some turnkey going to their house and installing it, so that's always fun.
How about the one you just built?
One we just built, secret price, just joking. That'd probably be around $2,800 to $3,000. Yep. I think that's it. Oh, one more.
Keep a computer on 24/7 or turn it off when you're not using it. What do you recommend?
So question is, do we keep the computer on 24/7 or turn it off when you're not using it? Depends if you're mining Bitcoin. And it can heat your house. So loaded question, but I would highly recommend turning it off when you're not using it. Yep. So last but not least, guys, if you got more questions, please come over here. I don't want to run over so the people over here don't get a chance to get on here. But stop by the booth and please enter to win this beautiful PC. I really, really appreciate your guys' time and effort today. We will be back next year, wherever that may be. And we might even have a PC building class. I was talking with Evan, so we're going to work out logistics behind that. Maybe give a little bit more in-depth. I think it'd be really neat. So my name's Austin. This is Brandon. This is Tasha. We thank you for your time today. Stop by the booth, guys.